Hello and welcome. My name is Mwalimu Digital Kamau Mbugua, and I'm having a conversation with my great friend here, a reader of repute who has worked for a long time for the county governments, and he has long-term ambitions of offering quality leadership to the employees of the Nairobi City County government. Before we go into the details and the meat of this conversation, I'll give him a chance to introduce himself and say hi to the audience.
Good evening, viewers. My name is FESTUS Ngari. As Mwalimu Digital has introduced me, I have been a leader in the Kenya County Government Workers Union for many years. And now faced with an election in a few weeks' time, it's a pleasure to have this particular interview, hear what Kenyans want to hear, and specifically my fellow colleagues who work for Nairobi County Government in terms of what I want to offer in form of leadership.
Thank you, thank you. I will challenge you first of all to just open up and be Ngari the person. Let's give a feel of who Ngari is.
Well, Ngari is is an internal auditor working in the county government of Nairobi. Born many years ago in Embu County, and I've served Nairobi County Government for now 27 years in various capacities, different offices, and aspiring to continue giving my professional service as well as representation services.
You have in the past been given the chance of leadership and representation at the same or in the same Kenya County Government Workers Union in the past?
That is right. And it's good to say that a number of achievements during my leadership are collective bargaining agreements. We have drawn and registered schemes of services. And most of all, we have been able to handle grievances of employees at the workplace, at the shop level, at the departmental level, and at the county level. We have only ended up in the industrial court where matters are of weighty issues, but otherwise we have been able to utilize the internal committees for purposes of solving workers' grievances, improving their terms and conditions of services, improving their salaries through collective bargaining agreement, and ensuring there is a career progression. It doesn't mean that one has come without challenges, because for strange reasons, every time that the regimes have changed, others have come and they have required that we train them on what proper industrial practices entail. We have seen members of Public Service Board who do not understand labor relations laws, who do not know how to interpret the Constitution of Kenya, and who have also practiced very bad industrial practices, causing harmful grievances to our members.
Give us a view of the life of the county government employee, maybe starting with the county number 47 where you are employed, and maybe even the other county governments. How does it feel to the general person? How has it been? Because certainly if you are aspiring to be their leader, you must understand where the shoe pinches.
Basically, that question can only be answered by acknowledging first and foremost that we are service-oriented employees. Everything that the county government does, whether it is in Nairobi, Mombasa, Embu, Nyahururu, is service delivery.
Yes.
We collect taxes from the residents of those particular counties so that we can give services to the residents of those countries. We are unique in Nairobi by the sense that we are also consumers of the same services that we give, and we are also the people who collect the taxes. So the life of an employee in a county government, let me say it has not been very much welcomed by the residents, because they see the employees of the county government, first of all, as the people who collect tax from them. Residents don't like giving taxes voluntarily. Sometimes there is a bit of enforcement. Number two, there is an issue of now the service delivery. Because naturally every taxpayer would expect that there can be no taxation without representation. And there are times that the political leadership has been blamed for giving not so good services, depending on the interpretation of the taxpayer. Therefore, it has been, let me call it a delicate balance on when you collect and when you give the services. We can only require a third party, an outsider, to come and look at how well we have collected and how well we have given the services. But the perceptions have always been there, and a lot of emphasis have only been focused on the enforcement part of tax collection, because we have even taken residents to court for non-payment of taxes.
Having had the privilege of working for the council for quite a long time, I think for around how many years?
27 years.
27 years. I tend to understand you understand the ins and outs of what it means to be an employee, to be a service provider, as you have put it. And now here we are at a point where you're aspiring to aspire for the secretary, the post of the Secretary General of the Kenya County Government Workers Union Nairobi branch. What is this one pertinent issue that you think you'd want to start with in this conversation to address the needs of the current employee?
The current employee has really suffered because with the advent of county governments from local authorities, there has been tremendous changes that have affected employee negatively. Excuse me. One, the Constitution came with a constitutional body called Salaries and Remuneration Commission.
SRC.
SRC. SRC was not brought in as a trade unionist, was not brought in as a person to set the salaries of unionizable employees. SRC was brought in as an advisor of public employers. So that whenever there is an employee and an employer who want to form a contractual agreement encompassing the salaries and other benefits, then SRC is only brought in as an advisor to the employer. This has been misinterpreted by the employers that anytime they want to take away benefits from the employees, they hide behind this body whose mandate is very clear, that it sets salaries for state officers and advises other public employers, such that our employees have now missed like 3 cycles of negotiating a collective bargaining agreement.
On the guise of SRC,
on the guise of SRC. SRC has also not been very strong to come out and say that under the law, the workers in county government deserve to keep on reviewing their collective bargaining agreements regularly. And probably the voice of us who are employees being heard has been a bit subdued because of the action, one, by the governors who we elected in, and they were not very clear about their mandate in terms of employees and employees' motivation, career progression, and that kind of stuff, but they put the political interest ahead of employees. And I must say that has also been part of the reason why the working morale shifted. There is another problem that we experienced and we have continued experiencing for the last 8 years, because when functions were moving from either county government to national government or from national government to county government, the terms were not harmonized as the law required.
Which is this?
The harmonization aspect is that the mainstream national government terms and conditions of employment were different, and their scheme of service was also different as gazetted in the Kenya Gazette. The defunct employees of local authorities terms were well defined in the collective bargaining agreement. We needed the people who are coming in and the people who are being found, and they are doing the same kind of job, to have equal work of equal pay. And that is the aspect that we were saying is harmonization, so that one nurse does not feel or take home more than the other nurse, yet they are working in the same hospital, same ward, and the same job description.
Okay.
We are late to do job harmonization as well as job evaluation to establish exactly what is the value of the job that is existing for a particular employee.
Do you anticipate that being resolved in the near future, and what exactly would it take for you, director and leaders, to see to it that it's done?
I want this one to be resolved within the first 3 months of registration. The reason is that the background has already been done. So it's simply the work in progress that is supposed to bring the parties together. These are the contracting parties, which we used to call the tripartites. Because already we know the employer and we already know the employee. One is represented by their association and the employee is represented by the union. The tripartite becomes tripartite when now the Ministry of Labour comes into play. And therefore, it is only that there has been no goodwill from the parties to sit down and resolve this impasse.
Okay.
We have experienced a number of strikes that have ended up by return to work formulas that have not been respected.
Okay.
We are only putting the parties on notice that all the return to work formulas must be implemented, and the best way to implement this one is through tripartite negotiations, because the background, the ground is already set.